On paper, when you hit 100 grand, it might feel like you have achieved your target and you've reached your financial milestone. However, the reality paints a different picture. A recent study covering 50 major US cities highlights that $100,000 annual income will not get you that far in the United States. Now, this might come as a surprise to many of you guys who consider it as an ultimate benchmark, but for someone like me who, like you, once considered it as a goal and then faced the harsh realities, so before you question my sanity, I will provide you with all the factual details on why earning this much isn't as much, considering the average expenses we usually face in our daily lives today. So before I get into the detail, I just want to make one thing clear, that I'm not trying to belittle anyone earning less than $100,000. The amount you make isn't the main point here. What matters is your expenses. I have seen people make less than $100,000 and save, while others earn six figures and live paycheck to paycheck. It's all about how you manage your money. Still, I would emphasizing the fact that it has become tough to manage expenses. So by the end of the video, I'll give you one awkward behavior that we all engage in, which actually costing us money. Hi, my name is Tasvir Mirza. I'm a real-time and diversified investor, and you are here for your weekly dose of entertainment. Now, if you like to spend and are thinking that a six-figure salary will lead to a lavish lifestyle filled with parties, luxury cars, and fully paid up houses and nightly gourmet meals and fancy restaurants, I hate to break it to you, the reality is quite different. You actually cannot, simply with the level of expenses. That's why I like to say that $100,000 today is like the new $70,000. If you were making $100,000 in 2010, the cash would have the purchasing power of $138,000 today. If you were making $100,000 in 2010, the cash would have had the purchasing power of $138,000 today. However, if you're pulling in $100,000 nowadays, it feels like what $72,000 did back in 2010. Inflation is essentially swiping away our buying power. And sadly, it's only getting worse. Everything is getting more and more expensive. For the first time ever, the average car payment is up to $700 a month. I mean, that's crazy. If you don't believe me, you should watch this video here. Even a basic pickup truck now costs more than some brand new BMWs and Mercedes. The average Joe is having a tough time making ends meet. Grocery bills are sky high, almost resembling what a mortgage looked like back in 2010. Those stimulus checks we all got, that practically feel like a loan with interest because everything shot up in price. So in the midst of all of this, where does that leave your six-figure salary? Obviously down the drain. And if you don't want this video to go down the drain, consider liking it below. The second thing we all need to look at is the fact that the houses have become quite expensive. And this is something that I've discussed in my previous videos as well. You can check them out here if you want. But the fact remains that an average earner cannot simply buy a house here in the US. Part of the reason that there is not enough supply than demand. With the current interest rate on the rise, existing homeowners are less inclined to sell their homes as their mortgages are likely locked up into a lower rate. The Federal Reserve's effort to control inflation have contributed to this higher interest rate. Because fewer homeowners are putting their houses on the market, the supply can't keep up with the demand. The scarcity of available homes coupled with sustained demand leads to increased prices. In 2020, the total value of US homes surged by $2.5 trillion, marking the sharpest annual increase since 2005, according to Zillow. At the close of 2020, the average US home sold for $403,900. Fast forward to the end of 2022, that figure jumped to $535,800. That is nearly based on the data from US Census Bureau and the US Department of Housing and Urban Development. So when will the prices drop? 2023 did see the price get a little bit cooler, but it wasn't enough. And predicting what the situation will be this year is also something I cannot reduce at this point. But the fact remains, buying a house is tough right now. And paying rent makes the situation even tougher for those living paycheck to paycheck. Another concern is high healthcare expenses. The US spends a lot on it but doesn't achieve a better outcome compared to some other countries. According to the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, 2023 healthcare spending will make up a staggering 18% of the United States domestic product growth. This substantial portion of the economy highlights the financial strain on both individuals and the nation as a whole. A considerable number of Americans face the burden of high healthcare premiums on a monthly basis. Additionally, they encounter financial challenges through costly co-pays and out-of-pocket expenses whenever medical services or treatments are needed. Unfortunately, this financial strain is particularly challenging for individuals with an annual income of $100,000 or more. Despite their higher income bracket, they often do not qualify for subsidies or financial assistance, aggravating the challenges associated with healthcare expenses. Another significant challenge is the rise of credit card debt. While student loan debts remains a major concern, it's crucial to acknowledge alarming increase in credit card debts. Although it doesn't match a sheer scale of student loan debts, the collective credit card balance across the nation crossed $1 trillion in the second quarter of 2023, and several factors contribute to this steady surge in credit card debts as well, including rising interest rate, inflation, and broader economic influences. Financial experts were consistently expressing concern that it wouldn't be long before credit card debt surpassed the $1 trillion mark, and it happened. This underscores the severity of the situation, as any form of debt has the potential to seriously impede financial prosperity and accumulate stress over time. It's widely recognized that addressing and eliminating debt is one of the most prudent actions individuals can take to regain control over their financial well-being. The impact of growing credit card debt should not be underestimated, and taking proactive steps to manage and reduce it is crucial for long-term financial stability. This channel's stability is dependent on you. So consider joining this community by subscribing below. Taking proactive steps does mean budgeting, but I've emphasized multiple times that budgeting doesn't necessarily mean spending less, but rather spend smarter. Incorporating a few financial tips not only benefits your wallet, but can also improve your daily happiness. Take my example. I achieved the $100,000 benchmark that I set for myself, but kept my expenses in check. While many friends were quick to update their living space after getting promotions, I chose to stay in my apartment a bit longer. This decision allowed me to maintain a low expense and boost my savings. Even when I eventually moved to a nicer place, I continued to live economically, and I would recommend that you do the same. And I would also say that despite cutting back on spending and making smarter choices, do allocate a small amount to something enjoyable each month. Whether it's just a $10 for a fancy coffee and a croissant or $50 for a new pair of shoes, stick to that amount. I believe that adopting a tight budget shouldn't be about total deprivation. That approach leads to burnout and unnecessary splurges. Give yourself the financial equivalent of a cheat meal. Knowing you have reward coming makes sticking to your budget more manageable and sustainable. Now, another pro tip that I'm going to give you, and that awkward behavior that we always do that costs us money, is don't be shy about letting people know that you're budgeting. While it might feel a bit awkward to explain why you're ordering water or opting for an appetizer instead of an entree, there's no shame in being on a tight budget. True friends will understand and appreciate that you're making time to be with them, even if your spending doesn't match theirs. Being open about your budget also makes situations less awkward. For example, if a friend invites you to shopping, you can comfortably say, "Sure, but I'm not buying anything." If they understand your situation, they won't pressure you, and you can still enjoy good company without exceeding your budget. Open communication about your financial goals helps building understanding and ensures everyone can have a good time without any discomfort. The whole point of making this video is to encourage you to raise the bar a bit higher when you're setting your financial goals, especially concerning your earnings. I've always aimed for a goal of making $100,000, but when you see the number, especially now, it's clear that it's not as much money as it may seem, so aim a bit higher. But that doesn't mean you should slave away your life or just stuck in a loop, because once you get stuck in it, it's hard to escape that rat race. Don't believe me? Check out how hard it was for me to escape the rat race. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Thank you for hanging out with me. See you in the next video.